guess it's time for us to start. And if someone will join, then they're welcome. So, how is it going? Are you overwhelmed with first day at university?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you're okay. You feel good. Drink water. Don't get too stressed. And everything will be good. So, here we are all together to learn something about physics. Will be course Physics 161, which consists of two main parts, will be mechanics and molecular uh, physics and thermodynamics. So we obviously will start from mechanics and step by step by introducing all concepts which you need to know from scratch. We'll develop this understanding, general understanding of physics in order to make it easier for you when you go for specialization, because obviously here minority of you are going to become physicists, maybe nobody. By the way, someone physics major? Apparently not. Yeah. Okay, so we will try to make some general picture which will be useful for all of you guys, regardless of your field of study. So today we will not, you're welcome, we will not go into some concepts and formulas. Our goal is to discuss the course in general and help you to understand how it's going to work for you so you don't miss anything important. We will try to go through this document, which is manual for students. All of you have online access to this manual, so please keep it accessible because time to time you will need to revisit this document since it pretty much provides all necessary information. And in order to make sure that you don't miss anything, we will go now through it in details. So we will discuss it. If you have any questions, you are welcome to interrupt and ask. So we will have this course, luckily, finally, already in person, because previous 2 years your a bit older friends didn't have such privilege, unfortunately, because of pandemic conditions, and it was really a challenge to organize this fully online training, specifically in such courses as physics, because we also have labs. We will discuss them. Also, you need to do laboratory work in laboratories in person, so of course it will require your attendance. I do believe, well, probably better to say I do hope that it will continue like this, and we will not have any reasons to switch again to online classes. I hope it will stay in person until the end of the semester. Lectures. So here we are going to discuss and try to understand some concepts of physics, some fundamental laws, relationship between different concepts, and this is our goal, to discuss physics and focus on understanding of physics. Solving problems, which is of course an important component of your studying physics and actually evaluation of your performance at this course. You will have dedicated recitations focused on solving problems and providing you information how exactly you should approach different physics problems and solve them. So during recitations with recitation instructors, you will go through these aspects of solving problems. Also, in addition, you will have laboratory work. So, of course, here I will speak mostly about lectures, since I'm your lecture instructor for this course. And first of all, it is necessary to understand that we don't put any requirements for attendance. So it is up to you how you feel. And we can only recommend you, of course, to attend lectures because it will definitely be helpful. But if some of you believe that they know this course pretty well already from school or some additional studies, um, well, that's your choice. You are all adult people, and we give you freedom. So if you cannot or do not have time because of any reasons, it's okay if you don't attend lectures. However, be aware that you need to attend all quizzes. We will discuss about them in details. You cannot miss them. Well, that actually will be your uh, main assessment approach, like, of your performance at this course. And of course, laboratory works, because laboratory works, they require experiments. It should be conducted under some supervision of laboratory assistant. They are busy. It's all scheduled, so we cannot provide any flexibility in terms of doing experimental laboratory works. So that's why laboratory works should be attended. That's mandatory. So now let us go through the manual. What do we have here? So first of all, probably important to mention also that we recommend like textbooks, which are available either online or in printed version in library. So you can choose what works for you better. Just keep in mind that in library we may have limited amount of books, so probably most likely it will not be available for everyone. So something new. What happened? Yeah, yeah, you're welcome. I have no idea what was the reason for that, but looks like we are coming back to where we were. Okay, so how your final grade will be calculated? That is one of the key question, and that will be 70% quizzes. There will be 4 quizzes. Um, in the table, we will go to that table in details. It will provide you information at which week you have quizzes. First 3 quizzes, they will cover only those chapters which already were discussed during lectures. And the last quiz will cover the whole course. So you will have a number of problems which should be solved. And this will be carried out in like downstairs in this, should be mentioned here. It's room 7E125 backslash 4. And there you will need to use your credential to log in into Moodle. I guess you're already familiar with Moodle. And there in Moodle, there will be join course for all sections for Physics 161. And right in front of this, like before the starting the quiz, you will be provided access to all problems which have to be solved. The duration of a quiz will be 40 minutes. So means you start, you're welcome, you start to do the quiz. Computer, like browser, will be locked. You will not have access to any other websites. You will be allowed to have some paper and calculator, which I believe will be on available on the screen. And during this 40 minutes, you will solve the problems which are selected randomly for all of you guys from pool of many problems. Now the question is, because there are many people and different things can happen, never know how it works. We have already scheduled quizzes, so they will be according to the timetable. And it is very important to do all your best to attend these quizzes. However, things happen and you may not be able to come to this quiz because of any reasons, for instance, some medical issues. And in that case, you need to provide some document proving your official reason not attending the quiz to student department of your school. There is some database, for instance, with medical documentation, which provides information that during a certain period of time you were sick. So you need to provide this information, and then you will have a chance to make up this quiz. So how it will, which you have missed, how it will work. If something happens and you already know that you are not available during this date of quiz, you need to email to Professor Anton Desятников. He is chair of physics department, and here we should have his email. No, somewhere higher. Let's see. It should be provided. Yes. Professor Anton Desятников, his email is provided in the manual. So you let him know that you will not be available and you will request to have this additional quiz. This additional quiz, like to make up that one which you missed, will happen at the end of the semester, and it will include all chapters. So it doesn't matter which quiz you miss. It's like first quiz, second, or third, which covers only small fractions of the course, only those chapters which were covered in the time intervals between the adjacent quizzes. Makeup quiz will go for whole course, and it will happen just right after the end of the semester. So that is the mechanism how we will try to take this into account. So this will contribute 70% to your final grade, which of course is a major contribution, and you need to be very serious about this. So first of all, besides attending lectures and trying to discuss here different concepts and try to understand them and make them easier for you to apply in solving problems later, you also strongly recommended to go through the textbook. So here, a bit down in the manual, we have this table with scheduled topics and chapters of the textbook, which should be covered during each week. So, for instance, we have week number 1. So today is 15th of August, and Monday. So this is our first lecture. We have introduction to the course, trying to understand how things are working. Next lecture in our lecture will be on Wednesday, and then the following one on Friday. So we will cover chapter 1 and chapter 2, which are units and vectors. So according to this timetable, which is made for whole course, please follow this and keep an eye on topics which should be discussed, even if you didn't have a chance to attend the lecture, or, for instance, um, you attended the lecture, but there is still some misunderstanding. So you are strongly recommended to go through these chapters, read them. At the end of each chapter, there are problems for self-testing. So again, since 70% of your final grade will originate from solving problems, you are strongly recommended as homework to pick up at least 10 problems randomly. Don't pick up first 10 problems which are recommended in the textbook, just randomly to cover all material which is discussed in the chapter, and try to solve them for having additional practice, and then you will have better understanding what to ask during recitations when you will specifically focus on solving problems. Now in this timetable, you can see marked with bold red. Here are some information provided for quiz. So quiz 1 will be during week 4, and it will cover chapters from 1 to 6. You see at week 4 we start chapter 7, so all those chapters which were covered before the week when you have your quizzes will be presented in this pool of problems which are offered to you. Make sure that you prepare for these quizzes and refresh before going to the quiz. Also, during these weeks when we have quizzes, so the time of quizzes will be the same as time of your date and time of your recitation during this week. During week 4, you will not have recitation. Instead of that, you will have the quiz. And it will be divided in many groups by 50 people, so that will be recitation class. So it will be divided automatically. You will start recitations shortly, soon, and you will have a chance with this group of people with whom you do recitations, also go through the quizzes. So here also in this timetable, you have information and some recommendations for video lectures available online. So that could be a helpful source of information to enhance your understanding of certain chapters which you go through the textbook, also during our lectures. So make sure you try different sources, because it really depends how things work for you personally. It can be more efficient to attend the lecture or read the chapter, well, or watch some video, like recorded lecture. Since it's not mandatory for you guys to attend lectures, I would like to provide you some additional flexibility in terms of asynchronous study, and I will upload our lectures online. Soon I will send you a link where you can check our recorded lectures, so that will help those who could not visit but wanted attend the lecture, but because of any reasons didn't make it. So you can anytime access this lecture video material online and go through it. So make sure that you don't miss anything. For each chapter, we have this additional information, and yeah, you are welcome to look through it. And it's not something that you have to do. Just check. Maybe it really works for you and will allow you to get better results in with less efforts. So it really depends on your personal approach to study. So this quiz number 2 is scheduled for week 7, quiz number 3 for week 11, and in the final week, week 15, at the end of the course. So with lectures, you see, we already will cover all materials. So during this week, we will have some general overview of the course. And during this final week, you will have the final fourth quiz. So this will make your 70%. And in order to get maximum out of it, please be sure that you pay attention to the format. So using Moodle for quizzes. In order to make your experience smoother and provide you some chance to prepare, there is a so-called Try Me quiz, which is already available in Moodle for all of you guys. And you can attend this quiz anytime you want and multiple times. So you can try online how these things work in order to have understanding, so you don't come to first quiz without seeing how this system works. There are several things which you need to focus on. First, when you go to quizzes, be sure that you have somewhere written your Moodle credentials so you can log in into the computer. Because otherwise it can make some delays. You can start later. It will be already some unnecessary stress, and you don't want that. So be sure that you come in time and log in also without any delays. Second, and probably the most important, this is the format of your answers. As you understand, it will be automatic checking of your answers. So there will be only one right answer in right format. And if you do, for instance, you solve the problem correct and you have correct answer, but you submitted in a wrong format. For instance, the example, you use comma, like decimal comma instead of decimal dot, is probably one of the most common issue with this submitting automatic in like some computer system quizzes. Your answer will not be accepted. So you will get 0 for this problem, even if you solve it correctly. So that is very important to understand, and we probably will come back to this question many times during the semester, so people will definitely complain on it. However, this is my responsibility to deliver clear message to all of you guys that you need to be very attentive and do this in the correct format. Otherwise, it will not be accepted, and unfortunately, we cannot do anything with this. So here you have information on formats. For instance, how you write the numerical answer. There are different options to write correct numerical answer. However, there are even more options to write it not correct. So pick up what works for you and make sure that when you go for this Try Me quiz, you type correct format, it works, it's accepted, and everything works. Otherwise, it will be 0 in terms of points which you gain for your correctly solved problem if you don't do it in correct format. Moreover, answers are not just numbers. You also need to provide units. Keep in mind that It will be also evaluated differently, correct numerical answer and correct unit. As I remember, should be mentioned here somehow. Yes, 70%. Oh, there is a question or? Yeah, so we have here 70% of the score will go for correct numerical answer, and 30% of the score will go to correct units. Again, keep in mind that units also have format. So you should be aware which format for units is correct and submit in this correct format. If format units are correct but format is not, unfortunately, you will also get 0. So that's why your manual at the early beginning, now before first quiz, we have a number of weeks. Please look through the manual, try this, try me quiz, and make sure that you are familiar with all these requirements so you don't lose any points because of any reasons. So here we have also links to open access textbooks, which I mentioned you about. So this is online available textbooks. Everyone can access them anytime. If you really prefer to work with some printed textbooks, there are versions almost identical to these online versions, which are available in our library, so you can request them. So with quizzes, I believe we discussed pretty much everything what is the most important. And now let us discuss laboratory work. So of course you will have more in more details discussion for laboratory work because you will meet with your LAs, laboratory assistant. However, since it contributes 30% to your final grade, I believe it's relevant information. We need to go through it. So there will be 9 laboratory works. So they are also scheduled here in the third column. So you see 9 laboratory work will be done at week number 13. So how it works? You guys, based on your personal decision, will be asked to build teams of 3 people each. So since this brings some potential problems, and I, for some period of time, was serving for department as a laboratory supervisor, so I had to deal with some complaints from students. I would like to discuss this important point here and try to provide this information earlier than later. So it's not only about your ability to read the manual, understand it, do experiment, and write report. So here is also involved some, so let's call it some hard skills. But here you should also include some and develop some soft skills, which means working in a team. There will be a team of 3 people, as I mentioned, and distribute responsibilities between you guys in order to make this teamwork efficient. Obviously, it should not be one person working, doing everything, and 2 others just watch Netflix. Everyone should contribute, and finally, you submit for each of these laboratory work. You submit a single report. So it will be a report from a whole team, from 3 people involved in this team, and the grade which you get, so it will be graded up to, so maximum grade is 100. based on the report you done and based on your results in the scope of certain experimental work, you will get the final grade, which will be shared for all three members of the team. So means everyone from the same team will get the same grade. Obviously, it should be organized in that way that total contribution, accumulative contribution from each person is equal to the final result. Of course, things happen, and somehow for majority works very well. However, there are always some exclusions, and uh, let's consider some example. Simple. Let's say that one member of the team got sick during this week, and you have limited time. You have 7 days since the day of your laboratory work to write and submit the lab report. So late lab reports are not accepted. So during this time frame, things can happen, as we already discussed. And of course, you need to be ready in that case to redistribute your responsibilities between yourselves. So obviously, if the person is sick, he or she cannot work, and you need to redistribute these responsibilities and submit this lab report as two people instead of three. For that person who was not able to contribute to this lab report, it will be not graded, so it will not have any influence on his or her grade final. However, things happen that people do not find good communication between themselves. In that case, there are some options initially to switch the people in team or switch teams. For that, you need to find some open place in another team, so you can switch during first 2 or 3 weeks, double check it in the manual. However, I believe that this approach is the last thing what you should do, because again, our goal to develop some soft skills and ability to find a compromise, ability to communicate with people, because that's actually what is waiting for you in real life when you're done with studying. That's always about finding a compromise with group of people and trying to establish healthy and sustainable working environment within the group. You're welcome. And create a team with the members of this country. So good question. How you create the team? Um, you will be divided in groups by 50 people for recitation, and you will have a possibility to build up these groups, smaller groups by three person within these 50 people, which like who are assigned to the same recitation. To same recitation. No, not recitation. It will be different. It will be the same laboratory group. So within those 50 people, you will have a choice to and possibility to form group and then try to establish from the early beginning. That's important. Don't wait until things will organize by themselves. Usually things don't organize by themselves quite well. Be quite clear at the beginning who does what. Some person can do some like data analysis, another person can write theoretical part. The third person can do visualization, like to build plots and show the some right conclusions, for instance. So that should be discussed and established as a rule for each team at the early beginning. And I believe with such approach, it is possible to avoid many unnecessary issues. What else we haven't yet discussed? of course, laboratory assistant who will be assigned to your group will provide you more details on labs and specifically the format of lab reports. That's important. Most likely they will set some page limit so you don't exceed number of pages in your lab report. It should not be excessively long. You should be very focused on what task was given, what equipment was provided, um, probably why this equipment and not different type of equipment, then what you have done in terms of experimental work, need to provide, of course, theoretical part to explain this phenomena which you studied during laboratory work, and uh, provide your results in the experimental and data analysis results in some graphical form. You can use any software for data analysis, starting from Excel and like Python, Origin, whatever you want. It just should be made in a clear form, presented in graphical way, or in table presented also data. And finally, need to make a conclusion based on your findings and experience during this laboratory work. So that is a very short description of the lab report, which should be done. And of course, since it's written form, please don't try to copy paste something, because that will end up not good for you. All these lab reports are checked and for plagiarism. So please, with your own words, with your own understanding, how you see this. So the artist writes how he or she sees the picture, and that's how you should contribute towards this lab report. So really try to avoid any options to get some lab reports from older students who did it last or few years ago. Doesn't mean that their lab reports were very good. So you really don't want to copy and paste someone's mistakes. Yes.
Yes. Mhm. Lab reports will be based on topics that were already discussed in lectures.
Most of them, yes, that was planned in that way, that we have first this discussion of lectures, and then we will you, because we have some delay. If you check here in the timetable, not mistaken, yeah, first 3 weeks there will be no laboratory meeting for you guys, and your first lab will start on week number 4. So 3 weeks, there will be a gap. You will not work on labs. So that means we will have some option to go through first chapters. So you can go further and do laboratory work with that material which already covered by lectures. However, be aware that it asks a laboratory assistant who will directly be responsible for organizing laboratory work, how it will work. And of course, they will explain you, but maybe double check. It looks like that before every laboratory work, you will pass some short quiz or maybe just some discussion with laboratory assistant, just to make sure that you know what you are going to work with and what you are going to do. So you need to have a solid understanding of the topic, of the subject of this laboratory work, and be able to answer some basic questions at least. That is important because it will help you to do experiment, first of all, more efficiently and faster. Second, gain some experience and understanding of the process, rather than doing something what you don't understand and have no idea what it is. So that's important. Please prepare on this topic. There will be some, of course, manuals for laboratory works and read them and try to understand the key concepts of this material. So eventually you will get this 9 laboratory works, 9 laboratory reports will be submitted and graded, like evaluated. So you will get some average of all your laboratory reports, and this average will be your lab grade, which will eventually contribute to 30% of your final grade for this course. Looks like we discussed all the most important points.
Yes.
Yes, sure. Now, guys, you are welcome to it.
Do we have the chance to meet up with the students from different sections? Like if I'm in section 10, when it comes to laboratory works, do I have the chance to meet up with a student who is from 11 or 12, maybe 12?
You mean to build
The team.
the team? I see. Need to double check with laboratory assistant. So during week number 4, we will have this first lab meeting, and that should be probably one of the key questions. It's not that we have something against you to organize groups from with whom you really want. It's just the thing that technically it could be difficult to realize. So if it's possible, then yes, but I cannot answer this question. Definitely, you need to specify it in like your laboratory system. But as it is now, at the current stage, as I know, usually you do this like build up the team within people who are in the same section.
Now, like, is it still, it's still not that clear how we write the reports, what do we write? And is there an example, the guidelines we talked about?
Okay, I think that laboratory assist quite. So here it is general information, but of course, laboratory assistants will provide all detailed information and again, page limit, format, and what is expected from these.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So here we probably could have not discussed this at all, since it is beyond the scope of lectures. But since it contributes a noticeable part of your final grade, I think that it's worth discussing. You're welcome.
Will we have recitation this week?
Recitation this week. That is not clear. If you haven't yet got information. Were you divided in recitation subsections already? No, you don't know. Okay. Okay.
I was in a recitation today.
Uh-huh.
Came, there was a tutor, and he was like talks about manual Pythons and that has free. So it's like
Okay, so it's kind of some introduction. Yeah. So I believe you will have it, but starting since we haven't yet covered any material, I believe starting from next week you will start already solving problems. But if you have it in your schedule, of course you have recitation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, please.
Does the school provides engineering calculators, or should we buy it ourselves?
Can you repeat, please?
About calculators engineering, should we buy it ourselves or?
Oh, well, I don't know about any calculators provided to students. So I believe during the quizzes there will be a calculator on monitor of your computer available, so you don't need to bring it. So you don't bring any devices, only your pen, and I believe paper will be provided. So calculator will be available on the computer. But for personal use, I believe, yes, you either buy some calculator or use available apps on your smartphones. Okay, we have one question from final.
Be assessed by only June and
No, it will be only quizzes, four quizzes, and laboratory work. So, final quiz number four, which is scheduled for last week of the semester, that will include all chapters. So it will be kind of final quiz, which includes all material covered by the course. And just be aware of that because previous quizzes, they will be limited in chapters, only those which are in between adjacent quizzes. And final quiz will take into consideration all chapters of the course. But this is it. So you will have four quizzes and laboratory work that will define your final grade.
Last,
Yes, sure.
we have the homework and web work.
No, you will not have any mandatory homework besides that strong recommendation from our side that after every chapter in the textbook there are problems for self-checking how you understood the material. And of course, I strongly recommend you to go through minimum 10 problems randomly chosen through the provided list in order to build up some experience in solving problems. So that in addition, of course, to recitations where you will be trained to solve problems, but of course you need to have practice that will help you to solve faster and of course to do it more accurately. Yeah.
Will the samples will be added to our package to enlighten
Excuse me, you will
textbooks?
textbooks. So there is in the manual recommendation for printed textbook, which is available in the laboratory. However, be aware that there will be not enough for everyone. So if you really want to have a printed copy, you are welcome to go there first, like as soon as possible. Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
I put the packages with their textbooks. They are not now packages after
No, they are not. So if you want to have this printed version, you will go with here.
even though we do not know packages.
Oh, no, I mean, it's mentioned in the syllabus, so it's certainly available to get. It's shown in the program. If it is available, it will be provided. Okay, guys, thank you for your attendance. Good luck. Yeah, and see you on Wednesday.